We're going to get started in about 2 minutes, if everyone can find their seat. Oh, they got very quiet. Welcome, come on in. Don't be afraid to sit up front. Hey, everyone. Okay, good afternoon. Today is Indigenous Peoples Day. Just a reminder to everyone that Indigenous Peoples Day is an important opportunity for us to celebrate and honor the rich histories and cultures and contributions of our Indigenous communities. It does serve as a reminder to us that resilience and strength of the Indigenous people throughout history, as well as the ongoing challenges that they face. Welcome to the second annual celebration of Temple Health Women. My name's Allison Saccomandy. For those of you joining us for the first time, I'll be your guide this afternoon. We have a couple robust sessions this afternoon, this one here at lunch and then one towards the end of the day with a really nice reception afterwards. So if you can join us for the afternoon session or late afternoon session or the reception, you're welcome to see us there. It's really hard to believe that it's been a year already that has passed since our first event last year when Dr. Goldberg was being urged to celebrate her first year as the first female dean of Lewis Katz School of Medicine. She spoke to me about how important it was that the focus not be just on her, that her success was not just about her accomplishment, but was really about the accomplishment of all of us here at Temple Health. And so every one of us who walks through those doors each morning, no matter the side of the street, to deliver on our mission and provide high-quality care, education, and above all, opportunity, not just to our internal Temple Health community, but the broader community of North Philadelphia. So to kick off this afternoon session, please join me in welcoming Dr. Amy Goldberg.
Thank you, Allison. I really want to thank Allison and our whole team. I said it this morning. About a year or so ago, I guess maybe a year and a few months ago, back in the summer, a year ago, when we were talking about what we'd want to do, I had a little idea. So I called Allison with a little idea, and I'm just so grateful to Allison in taking that idea and joining with the rest of our team and just really blowing it out of the water. And so really grateful. Thank you so much, Allison. So welcome, everyone. And to those of you who joined us at the morning session, we're so glad to have you back again. And if you are joining us for the first time, I'm so thrilled to be here, and I'm even more thrilled that you are here as well. As I said, thank you so much to Allison and our planning team, and to our speakers that you will now hear at this session. To Zway Kwok. Where'd Zway go? Oh, you moved your seat. To Zway Kwok and our amazing storytellers, Amira, Christine, and Kelly. We are so grateful that you are here. Today is about celebrating the incredible women at Temple Health and your immeasurable impact. Every one of us, at every level and working within every facet of our operation, plays a critical role in fulfilling Temple's mission and moving us forward and keeping us at the forefront of purposeful academic medicine for our patients, our students, and our community. And we've centered that celebration around the power of wellness. How can we bring our best to a mission of caring for others if we don't prioritize caring for ourselves? That is a tough question, but an important one, and one that we don't ask often enough. This morning, we heard incredible stories, absolutely incredible stories, about the power of resilience. We heard from Indira, Associate Director of Nursing, Naya, an LKSOM fourth-year medical student, and Gina, an anesthesiology first-year resident. Their personal stories were humbling, and we are grateful they shared their journey with us. This afternoon, we are talking about the health impacts of wellness. To me, this gets to the heart of why these sessions are so important. It's why I've been an advocate for supporting wellness awareness and support for years. And when I stepped into the dean's role, I made it one of my priorities here at the school. You don't need me to tell you, these jobs are hard. They may be harder than they've ever been. The challenges we face in healthcare and in academic medicine have grown exponentially, and the resources to help us look after ourselves haven't always kept up. It's true for our frontline providers, and it truly impacts and affects us all. And in the service of Temple's mission to teach, practice, and advance medicine that changes healthcare for the better, we must commit to recognizing and doing our best to meet our own needs. We need our institutions behind it, but requiring that personal commitment. I've been a part of our Temple family for over 30 years, and I truly believe until you are a part of this community, you might not really understand the full scope of what commitment to a mission means. I'll stop for one quick second. I was at Metro Health, it might have been last week or maybe the week before, I can't even remember. And I was up giving a trauma talk, and one of the trauma surgeons, could just hear, surgeons don't usually use the word love, but could just hear the love that I had in my voice for Temple. And she looked at me and she said, well, what is it? As if I could tell her this little secret sauce or give a potion. And I said, well, we care about each other and we care about the mission. And that's really what motivates all of us. And I know she was like, I want some of that. I didn't give her my card and try to recruit her away because the chair of surgery would have killed me. But it really is so special. And unless you are a part of it and sitting in it, you don't really get it. We know you all do. So this place and the passion and determination that our colleagues bring to their work every day is incredible. But that dedication to our work, our care, our science, our patients, and each other, we have to match it with a duty to keeping ourselves well. We know the toll it takes when we don't. Health worker burnout and workplace well-being are two of the Surgeon General's priorities. Medicine is recognizing the adverse health impacts, and we must do what we can here within our Temple family to address them. So thank you for being here to do just that. And after our session, we'll have the chance to enjoy some time together over lunch, so I hope that you'll be able to stay. But thank you for taking the time to be here, for joining us, committing to your own self-care, and playing your part in advancing our mission. Thank you so much.
All right, we're really excited for our keynote speaker this afternoon. One second, apologize. It's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Zway Kwok. Is one of the world's leading experts on integrating neuroscience and mindfulness into leadership development. Her book, Calm Clarity, How to Use Science to Rewire Your Brain for Greater Wisdom, Fulfillment, and Joy, is one of Fast Company's best business books for 2018. She's a social entrepreneur who grew up here in inner city Philadelphia, actually right here in North Philadelphia, graduated from Harvard College and the Wharton School, and built an international career in management consulting and private equity investments. Having started her life in poverty as a refugee from Vietnam, she started Calm Clarity in 2013 to share the power of neuroscience-based techniques she developed to heal trauma, overcome barriers, realize her potential, and help us realize our own, and build social ventures such as Collective Success Network, which you'll hear more about this afternoon as well. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone, please welcome Zway Kwok.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's such an honor to be here, being someone who grew up just a few subway stops down the line in Logan, and Ani, and we have a fellow person from Logan there, Tanya. And my parents always dreamed that one day I would be a doctor working at Temple. That didn't quite work out the way they wanted, but now we can share pictures of me talking to the medical team at Temple, which is almost as good, right? So I'm going to be talking about neural pathways to resilience to bring home the science of wellness. When I started talking to Allison and her team, their question was, how can you fill the cup of others when yours is empty? And I said, you got to refill your cup first. There's no way you can spread an empty cup further except you're spreading emptiness, right? And that tiredness and that burnout. And so what I hope I will share today, let me start my stopwatch too. All right, what I'll share today, hopefully you can use starting this afternoon when you go back to your work to improve your own wellness and you develop your leadership. And so I want to start by sharing some background on my life and the organization I'm building and what this word mind hacking means. And so I grew up not far from here in inner city Philadelphia and promised I'd come back to make a difference. And what I decided to do in 2013 was to start building a user manual for steering brain development that supports students growing up here like I did to improve their mental health, rise to challenges, and create positive change in their lives, their families, their communities. And lo and behold, adults said, we need this too. And so we began to build an organization that uses science to develop the leadership capacity of human beings to co-create a world where everyone thrives. And I call it calm clarity, though some of my friends make fun of me and call it calm calamity, because you can rise to challenges by thinking clearly when you build the neural networks, neural pathways to resilience that I'm about to show you. And so my book introduces this word, mind hacking, that most people have never heard of. So I share my definition of what this word means. It means using science to enhance the best qualities of being human by proactively steering brain development in a way that physiologically supports greater physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being, alignment, and integration. And this is so important because if you've experienced trauma, you dissociate, you fragment. You don't know what it's like to feel aligned and whole until you build the neural pathways that allow you to do so. And many of you treat patients who have trauma, and you can see this, the fragmentation, the dissociation, and how it impairs brain development if they experience this at a young age. The good news, as I can share with my own life, is that trauma can be reversible. How it impacts the brain can be addressed, and you can become stronger as a result of integrating all these pieces of yourself. And so I became a mind hacker by necessity. My parents escaped Vietnam on a boat like this back in 1979. I was barely half a year old, and many of you who've held babies, you know how fragile a 6-month-old is, right? And we ran out of food and water, and thank God we survived that journey. And we got to a refugee camp where there was malaria, dengue fever. I contracted, I think it's called encephalitis dengue, and almost died, but pulled through. And somehow in 1980, in the summer, we arrived in inner city Philadelphia and were settled in Logan. And eventually my parents worked odd ends. My father was a waiter, my mom was a maid, and they saved up money to open this takeout restaurant in West Oak Lane. And then we learned about gang violence. I spent my life looking out of this window, helping my parents run the store, and gangs would come in and rob people like you see here. That's a picture from a security camera in that same takeout after we sold it. We couldn't afford a security camera back then. And you can imagine how horrific it is for a child to witness that over and over and over again. And I thought to myself, why is this happening? What is going on in people's brains that enables or says it's okay to do this? How can I change this? Let me say yes to every door that opens. Let me do my best to become the best version of me. And let me come back and make a difference. And so with that promise, I was academically gifted. And like another person this morning, I made it to Harvard. But at Harvard, it wasn't a happy fairy tale ending. You can imagine this was in 1996, there was no support for first generation low-income college students. There was no name for that. The culture shock I experienced, the alienation, nobody knew. Every time I told my story, I would get gaps of horror and shock. And I stopped telling my story. I became invisible. And my symptoms, because I didn't have a social support network, got worse until I became suicidally depressed. And luckily, I was able to reach out and get help. And that psychiatrist, an African-American man in his 50s, was the first person to make me aware all of that trauma I experienced since being a baby had changed my brain and were connected to the symptoms I was going through: flashbacks, uncontrollable crying, panic attacks, just whirl of negativity I couldn't break out of. So luckily, I took what he told me about the brain. I did say yes to antidepressants and therapy, but that wasn't enough. That wasn't going to change how my brain had adapted to my environment and was so different from that of my peers. The only answer was to change my brain to catch up to the brains my peers had to be able to compete and perform at that level, the top 1% of the world, right? And so it worked. I was able to heal my brain, graduate with honors, and then build a career like Allison mentioned in management consulting, private equity, and then got into social impact investing, and then gave myself the permission to walk away from all that and come back to inner city Philadelphia to make a difference, to help leaders, organizations, co-create a conscious society and economy where all of us can thrive. And I think that's really important to see that you have a role, no matter what your title is, in co-creating that type of society. And so now let's talk about the science. So, whoa, okay. With the Calm Clarity Framework, what we share is that, oh, that's on self-animation. Is it possible to take it off timer? I'm not sure why it's doing that. But anyway, I can walk us through that. So your inner narrator in your brain is constantly giving a commentary about your life. It's tied to a part of the brain called the default mode network. And that part of the brain, that part of the brain is constantly talking, depending on what networks are activated in your brain, what pattern of brain activation. If you had a lot of trauma, let's go back here, then you can get stuck in what I call brain 1.0. These structures are fully formed when you're born. They help you freeze, flee, fight, or fawn to defend yourself in a state of self-preservation. But this voice in your head, it just feels overwhelmed. And when I hear it, it sounds like an inner Godzilla, where I just want to lash out, destroy things like Godzilla smashing Tokyo to the ground, or disappeared, like Godzilla walks into the ocean. You don't hear from him, right? Have you guys ever felt that? And this doesn't feel good. After being a 2-year-old, adults don't really accept you behaving this anymore, right? And so you have to learn to behave better. And most of us go into what I call brain 2.0, using the dopamine system, some type of reward to feel better. It could be comfort eating. It could be drinking alcohol as you get older, retail therapy, all sorts of different ways to establish a sense of comfort and alleviate negative feelings. But it also could be control. Any control freaks in the room? You take over whenever there's chaos, right? And other people just can't handle it. You have to step up and create structure and order. Sometimes it doesn't really help. And so when you experience Brain 2.0, your dopamine system is trying to make you feel better. And I feel like it's like that Michael J. Fox movie, Teen Wolf, where in order to feel good, he chases the hottest girl, popularity. But when he gets it, he's not really happy. He realizes he has to go back to his best friend and the girl who's always there for him to really experience who he is. And so, like Teen Wolf, we chase carrots thinking they'll make us happy. This is what society says will make you happy. And you get that carrot, you're on the hedonic treadmill. It feels good, but it doesn't last. You get empty again, and you chase the next thing, thinking that's gonna make you happy. If I only buy this, the perfect car, I'll be fine. That car gets old, you need another perfect car. Have you done that? Right? You need the latest cell phone, the iPhone, and then you get it. Then you're like, now I need more apps. It never ends, right? And so what we've seen is that people can have all the success in the world in Brain 2.0 and still be depressed and suicidal, right? There are many examples of that. And so Brain 2.0 drives the pursuit of happiness without allowing you to actually experience happiness. It creates anticipation and anxiety without having that long-term stable happiness that we're looking for. For that, you have to build Brain 3.0. So Brain 2.0 accelerates in adolescence. Brain 3.0 doesn't complete forming until your mid-20s. But even then, the neural pathways of 1.0 and 2.0 are so strong and so dominant, you don't actually learn how to use Brain 3.0 until maybe your 50s, unfortunately. But that's why a lot of leaders are in their 50s, and why grandparents are so wise. And so, but you can use it earlier and have this inner sage quality sooner. And so Brain 3.0 allows you to see a bigger picture, take a long-term view. It allows you to actually experience mastery over Brain 1.0 and 2.0. This part of the brain has neural pathways that calm Brain 1.0 and Brain 2.0. And it allows what scientists call executive functioning for you to plan, for you to see this bigger picture, to control impulses so that you can create the outcomes you want, right? And so I call it an inner sage because it's constantly guiding me to share my wisdom with the world, to lift people up, to take people with me, not force what I want down their throats. Does that make sense? So does that resonate with you, that you've experienced all three states and that you make a very different impact on the people around you when you're in Brain 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0? And so it's really important to think about how these states affect the way you interact. For instance, when you perceive and treat people a certain way, you can make them act that way. So when two people come together in Brain 1.0, they think each other's the problem, right? This person's so horrible and the other person thinks you're so horrible, right? It's two-way, and you create unhealthy conflict or avoidance. When two people come together in Brain 2.0, I don't know why it keeps going on timing. So when they come together on Brain 2.0, there's transaction or competition. It's like the Eagles, where when they're on the same team, they work well together. When they get traded, they become the enemy, persona non grata, right? No one says Carson Wentz's name anymore. And so we have the situation where in Brain 1.0 and 2.0, people live a win-lose type of life. But in Brain 3.0, you can actually collaborate and co-create a shared vision of the world. You can actually, this is going much faster than I wanted to. And so when you're in Brain 3.0 and your patients or others are in Brain 1.0, you don't have to get triggered and unleash your inner Godzilla on them. You can provide empathy and compassion. When you're in Brain 3.0 and your coworker or other people are in Brain 2.0, you can give them inspiration, support, and maybe activate Brain 3.0 in them, right? This is what great leaders do for us. Or vice versa, when you're in Brain 1.0, a colleague can help you come back to Brain 3.0. Or when you're in Brain 2.0, you're stuck in tunnel vision, someone can help you see the bigger picture, a mentor, a role model, right? And so when you come together, only in Brain 3.0 are you feeling open and integrated between your heart and mind. When you're in Brain 1.0 or 2.0, you're kind of contracted. Your heart and mind are dissociated. You might think and not feel, or feel and not think, right? And so when you want to experience belonging, trust, collaboration, recovery, resilience, creativity, learning, and innovation, you kind of have to be in Brain 3.0, interacting in that state. Interactions in Brain 1.0 and 2.0 are draining. They lead to more burnout if you have to keep protecting yourself from those types of interactions, right? To the degree that you can come together as a team in 3.0, you recharge each other. You allow each other to regenerate and bring more 3.0 in the world, right? It's so important to have a social support system that helps you be in Brain 3.0. And so to build Brain 3.0, there are 4 key neural systems that allow you to live and work in Brain 3.0. The first is your attention system, and this is so important. What are you paying attention to? Can you focus? Can you direct your attention? Can you sustain concentration even with distractions? And then can you, with the resilience system, regulate stress, practice self-care and recovery? Can you restore blood flow to Brain 3.0 when it's being diverted by your freeze, flee, fight system? And then with the meta-awareness system, can you see your stories? Are you aware of feelings, thoughts, behaviors, and patterns that keep activating Brain 1.0 or 2.0, that keep you from being in Brain 3.0, like, I'm not good enough? That story is gonna hold you back unless you let go of it. The connection system, can you attune to people? Can you still feel compassion and empathy and build social support? Can you interact in a humanizing way? Those are all signs your connection system is functioning, but it's vulnerable to stress, and it can deactivate, and you feel like you're by yourself or nobody else connects with you, right? And so the resilience system, the connection system, if you look, they're intertwined. They build upon each other, which is why social support is so key to being resilient. We're going to talk more about that. So with the resilience system, it's about how do you keep getting back up no matter what life throws at you. This person, to me, is a role model of being able to still run without legs, right? And so the resilience system enables you to overcome adversity and rise to challenge. Mandela is another role model for me. He said, the greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every time you fall. That's what it's about, never staying down. And so the key aspect of resilience is being attuned to your body and what it needs. What does your body need to get up again? Right? Unless you know you can't do it. For that guy to run, he needed physiotherapy, he needed prosthetics. There's a lot of things that helped him run again, right? And so it comes from something called interoception that all of us have. There are receptors throughout your body that allow you to sense stimuli from within. And these receptors help you answer 2 questions. How do I feel? What do I need to do to take care of myself? Too often, because our academic culture tells you to shut down your body and just think with your mind, you don't know what your body is telling you anymore, especially athletes. And so interoception has 2 components. You gotta be able to sense, be aware that there are signals coming from your body, and then you have to be able to interpret those signals and respond appropriately. Say you have a headache, what does it mean? And as doctors and nurses, you know you could be dehydrated, right? You could have a cold, you could just have a migraine. There are so many different reasons. How do you know how to treat that headache, right? You could be that you go drink water, you take a nap and see if it goes away. So there's all different ways to read these signals and figure out what they're telling you in combination. So this morning, the speaker talked about a battery. I'm gonna give you more details on how your battery works, because it's not as simple as comparing yourself to an iPhone or a laptop. A laptop or iPhone at 20% battery, or can go down to 20% battery and give you full access to all the functions and all the apps. You're not like that. So your body's gonna prioritize blood and nutrients first to brain 1.0 to keep you alive. It is not sending anything to brain 3.0 right now, right? And then as there's more nutrients, it's gonna give that to brain 2.0 to make you go and get things you need to survive. And then when you're close, pretty close to 90% maybe, you get access to brain 3.0. When people study scarcity, they say people who are experiencing financial scarcity versus when they're not experiencing financial scarcity lose 1 standard deviation of IQ points. 10% or 10 IQ points are lost because of this, okay? Now, to expand your capacity, it doesn't mean you build a bigger battery. It actually means you have to practice interoception and self-care in a proactive way to keep regenerating Brain 3.0 when you use it up, right? So you can expand the Brain 3.0 part of the battery with each other too, through social support. Does that resonate? Have you seen how you're supporting a patient in Brain 3.0 allowed them to recharge their battery and keep fighting? Huge. This is healthcare. When my dad was here for his colonoscopy, the nurse took such good care of him. He easily felt better and was able to walk out of the room easily, right? And I'm so grateful for that. So this is so important to understand the impact of this battery, not just for you, but for your patients. And so to practice interoception, you have to be aware your body's constantly sending you signals. So what Brain 1.0 might feel like is your heart racing, feeling tight or tense, contracting, armoring, changes in temperature, hot or cold, heavy, sluggish, stuck, apathetic or numb, low energy, burnt out. Brain 2.0 is going to feel like chasing and craving, being restless or impatient, impulsive or compulsive, rigid, inflexible, hierarchical, comparing. You get a dopamine rush from validating your ego, like in social media. Or you can be really hyper-focused and pushy about one thing. Have you guys ever seen people in Brain 1.0 or 2.0? Can you tell when you're that person? That's a lot harder. And so once you're in Brain 3.0, it's about activating a different network. Can you be open, attuned, agile, aligned, whole, curious, or compassionate? Activating any of those pathways will change your brain. It would allow you to come into Brain 3.0, and that naturally calms 1.0 or 2.0. Does that resonate? Have you seen it? Right? And so I want to walk you through a quick exercise just to do this for yourself. It only takes a minute, really, to observe and assess your own brain activation in Brain 1.0, 2.0, or 3.0. So you can tune into your body where it feels tight or tense. Know that those are the places where you hold stress. You're gonna look at whether you feel positive or negative, what emotions capture what you're feeling, and then quickly look at your inner narrator. What is it saying? What can you learn from what it's saying? So if it's okay, I'm going to tell you to close your eyes so you don't look at the slides anymore. And whoever's in the booth, can you take the slides off timing? Thank you. So everyone, take 3 slow, deep breaths at your own pace. And this is going to allow you to bring more blood flow and oxygen to Brain 3.0. So once you've taken your 3 breaths, start to normalize your breathing and slowly start to scan your body from your toes, up your legs, up your torso, your arms and fingers, up to the top of your head. Where do you feel open and relaxed? And where do you feel tightness and tension? Wherever you feel tightness and tension, that's where you hold stress when you're in Brain 1.0 or 2.0. So take note of that and let those be signals for you in the future when you're starting to tense and tighten, to pay attention to those parts of you. Now, thank them for holding your tightness and tension, for helping you manage stress, and give them permission to relax, to release that stress, to let go. Take a deep breath out. And now let's look at your emotions. Scientists say that we all experience positive or negative valence. So on a scale of -5, where -5 feels very negative, 0 is neutral, and +5 feels very positive, where would you put yourself at this moment? And there's no need to force yourself to feel positive when you're really at a -2. Just be honest where you stand and let that data guide you to take better care of yourself. And then, if there was a word to capture your emotional state right now, what would that word be? And it has to be 2 or 3 words, that's fine. Now let's take a look at your inner narrator. Is it criticizing? Is it beating yourself up? Is it making to-do lists, trying to get you to do more or be more? Or is it a help moment to attend to what is unfolding with curiosity and compassion? Whatever it's doing, take it in and allow it to guide you to take better care of yourself. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back to this room. So that was a pretty simple, short exercise that you can do even more quickly once you get the hang of it. Does that make sense? Would that be helpful? To just ground yourself before talking to a difficult patient or colleague? All right, so hopefully the slides are off timing. Now I want to talk about the connection system. And scientists often call this your tend and befriend system as well, because instead of freeze, flee, or fight, you build social support when you experience stress. And what we've seen through a lot of the science, and there's been a few books, I think, on the Grant study at Harvard, where they followed people since the World War II era on what allowed them to be most successful, and they concluded happiness is love, full stop. That's it. And so your connection system enables you to experience resonance, joy, meaning, inspiration, and growth through connecting with others. You weren't meant to grow up by yourself. We know from Romanian orphanages that children who weren't cuddled, who weren't loved as babies, had all sorts of developmental problems for the rest of their lives. We were meant to build our capacity to connect with caregivers since the time we were born to live full lives. That's so important to being human. And so when we look at the system, it is so critical to being happy. When we use this connection system, we boost each other's capacity to be in Brain 3.0 through challenging situations. And so the key component of your connection system is this tend and befriend response. So when scientists studied stress, they noticed, first they studied men, and they came up with freeze, flee, fight, because that's what the men were doing. And then they studied women. They're like, the women are hugging each other. What is happening? And so they realized there's a whole different circuit. And if people tended and befriended, and there were some men that were doing it, but they couldn't figure out what was going on. They called them outliers. It wasn't until they studied in women, they're like, oh, the light bulb went off. That when you get stressed, tending and befriending is a more effective way to overcome the challenges that you're facing. And it actually mediates inflammation and other effects, negative effects of stress. And so once they understood what they were doing, they called it tending and befriending. And this tending and befriending is such an essential mechanism. We need to be tended and befriended to feel psychological safety, to build trust. You can't have a high-performing team if they don't tend and befriend each other. Does that make sense? You can't be in Brain 3.0 in a team unless you're tending and befriending each other. You don't have hostile workplaces in Brain 3.0. They're all in 1.0, right? Because you're on guard and protecting yourself. And so how can we activate this even more here, right? So you tend and befriend each other and create this positive battery generation cycle that then brings your patients up, lift your patients up with you. And so there's a quick exercise I want to share called the compassion meditation, which is like a workout to boost your connection system. And it's very simple. This is from 2,500 years ago, where you say positive wishes for yourself and others. These wishes can be adapted to fit whatever resonates most for you, or at temple, whatever words make the most sense to activate your tend and befriend system. We use the more generic words like happy, healthy, safe, peaceful, prosperous, to live in harmony. But some people, if it works, they say, may you feel loved. May you live with ease. It depends on your culture. We can build better phrases for you to say. But it's about wishing for everyone to feel or to be happy. Does that make sense? So if we want to do it, sometimes I encourage you to do it with your eyes closed and visualize as you say these wishes. Golden light comes out of your heart for all the people you're saying these wishes to. And that helps you feel it even more strongly. So I'm going to invite you all to close your eyes and imagine saying these wishes for each other, for all your colleagues and all the people in the temple community and all your patients and everyone's families. You know, everyone that temple touches, every family that temple touches here. So imagine this huge community. And now let's say for each other, may we all be happy. May we all be healthy. May we all be safe. May we all be peaceful. May we all be prosperous. May we all live in harmony. And imagine these golden light, this wishes as golden light coming out of your heart into the hearts of all the people throughout your community. And imagine as people take in this light, they become brighter and brighter. They feel stronger. They feel more supported. They feel energized and confident to take on whatever challenges they're facing. And they say thank you. And they want to return these wishes to you. So now give yourself permission to breathe in this golden light that's being sent your way. To breathe in as much as you need to feel energized, recharged, to face whatever challenges you're facing. And when you're taking in enough for now, say thank you and know that whenever you need to, you can give yourself permission to take in more of this golden light. So when you're ready, open your eyes. Did that help? Do you feel better? Okay. So we have an exercise here for you. If you look at your handouts, you have this table, and the idea is to look at how these patterns affect the way you interact. In particular, think of a time you interacted in each of these states, what sensations did you feel in your body now that we've done that exercise? And then what qualities and emotions did you express or transmit to the person you're interacting with? And this is so important because you might be able to see that even though a person is in Brain 1.0, you don't have to react in Brain 1.0. And even though a person's in Brain 2.0, you could still respond in Brain 3.0, but it takes time. The most important thing is to call it, to be able to name it, and then make a choice to respond differently. So for those who are introverts, feel free to fill this out for the next couple minutes on your own. If you're an extrovert and you really want to talk this out, raise your hand and find a partner. So we'll give you 2 minutes. Due to time constraints, I have to call everyone's attention back here. And I wanted to ask if there was any volunteer who would like to share what initial thoughts or insights came to you from doing this exercise, from looking at the different ways that you interact with people, the different feelings and sensations, and the different qualities that you express. Are there any key takeaways that have come to anyone that you would like to share? Yeah, you can share on behalf of someone who's shy.
I think that sometimes you just don't know what the language is to use and the descriptions and the definitions. And so by listening to this, it's a little bit easier to describe. And if you can describe it, then you can work on it and develop it, be better.
Name it and frame it, is what my coach tells me.
Name it and frame it. That's actually something Mark Brackett also said from the Center for Emotional Intelligence at Yale, who's a friend of mine now. So as you can see, everyone can interact in these states. It's so normal when someone escalates in Brain 1.0 that you escalate back, right? And that when someone is trying to take control in Brain 2.0, you either listen or you resist because you want to be the boss, right? So, but when you can interact in Brain 3.0, it changes how they interact with you. And instead of fighting you, they might actually open up to you. Isn't that so powerful as a caregiver, as a doctor, as a nurse, to have people actually open up to you? And so what I want to share is that conscious leaders, people who come into Brain 3.0, groups, organizations, and societies can dramatically improve performance and well-being. When you're activating Brain 1.0, people are fighting and withdrawing. Or you co-activate Brain 2.0, they judge and criticize. And as a result, this triggers trauma, shutting down, backlash, and suppression. You might have seen this when you have this push-pull with a patient, right? They fight you. As they activate only Brain 2.0, through rewards or incentives, people comply, they transact, they compete. But it might also trigger power dynamics, mindless compliance or competition, egotism, and turf wars. One thing I learned as an alumni of Penn and Wharton is that they don't talk to each other. They compete with each other. Mind-blowing. They cannot collaborate. And so when you activate Brain 3.0, people begin to contribute and support something where it might not directly benefit them, but they know it's the right thing to do. It makes a difference. And as you activate Brain 3.0 even more, get stronger, people get visions for how to make life better. And they act on those visions, right? They elevate each other to see those visions. So you initiate and you co-create. And so when people are in Brain 3.0, they can mindfully examine patterns for why things aren't working. They can see a holistic view, uncover big dramatic insights and breakthroughs. That's what it takes to cure cancer. That's what it takes to cure most diseases or help a patient recover. They can create deep connections. That's so powerful. And so when you strengthen Brain 3.0, you build your capacity to reimagine and transform systems, to co-create solutions to complex challenges. Healthcare is a complex challenge. There's no one easy pill that solves everything, right? And so when you think about it, conscious co-creators, they take ownership of shifting themselves, each other, society into Brain 3.0 and replacing patterns and systems that reinforce Brain 1.0 and 2.0. Whenever there's a stimulus or stress, whichever neural pathway is the strongest in you is the one that goes first. So if it's Brain 1.0, you go into self-preservation. If it's Brain 2.0, you try to take over, right, or escape through immediate gratification. But these are mindless reactions. You stay stuck repeating, reinforcing inherited and potentially harmful patterns, narratives, and biases. If you can build the pathway to 3.0, even by noticing you're in 1.0 and shifting, noticing you're in Brain 2.0 and shifting, eventually you can directly take the high road, right? And by doing so, you can tune into that voice of your inner sage. You can free yourselves from limiting patterns, narratives, and biases. You co-create with presence and wisdom, like the first person who spoke this morning is talking about. But you have to be present. You have to have Brain 3.0 to be present. Does that resonate with you all? And so when you think about it, why can't we be surrounded by stimuli that bring us into Brain 3.0? Why do we have to be part of a society that keeps reinforcing Brain 1.0 or 2.0? It's up to us to change it. It's up to us to build an organization that supports us to be in Brain 3.0, that supports patients to be in Brain 3.0. And I invite you to start making that change today. And I'm happy to be here to help you. And so, key takeaways. First, use interoception to tune into your body and what it needs. 2, proactively practice self-care to regenerate Brain 3.0 to prevent burnout. 3, tend to befriend each other to elevate your capacity to generate and share Brain 3.0 as human beings, as a team, as an organization. That is so important. And so We do have a list of resources that Allison and Nicole will share. This is a list of books to read, including my own, which was, they said, one of the best business books of 2018. And we have these card decks that we made to help people shift into Brain 3.0. You can read it before a team meeting. So I've given a few to Allison and her team. Phil, this is an open deck you can all come and look at, and maybe it's a library, or you can buy more, however you want to do it. You have this handout. I recommend you keep it as a reference, and we even have a self-assessment to help you understand the the 4 systems, 5 components of each system, and a reminder how to practice activating Brain 3.0. And then, if you're ready for this, all those who like research and data analytics, we could even build pie charts from which time you're energizing Brain 1.0, 2.0, or 3.0. I know anxiety is an issue that many people don't want to talk about because it's stigmatized. So we have a course that you can take even for free, if money's an issue, to learn how to deal with anxiety using science. So there's a code there to enroll. And you'll get all of this. And so thank you again for your time. Again, as someone who grew up just a few subway stops down, I'm so honored to be here. Thank you.
There's a lot of great information for our own self-development as well as the development of our teams, and to understand how important it is, whether in our personal relationships, our professional relationships, that we understand that we all deal with stress in different ways. And it will look different, depending on who we are, both as individuals and in other ways as well. So, I encourage you to keep that in mind. So today we have a number of storytellers. If you joined us earlier, you know that it is one of the most important parts of the sessions that we have today. And I want to introduce our storytellers this morning or this afternoon. We have 3 different storytellers. It's really one of the most rewarding parts of doing this program is I get to meet, I know so many different people across the health system, but doing this specific program, I get to meet so many different colleagues, and I'm so happy to have 3 of our colleagues here today. They're nominated, actually. I reach out to everyone I know across the system and say, hey, who do you know that might speak on this topic, who could really give us some wisdom, who could give us some experience and some insight. And so this afternoon, our insight on health impacts will be provided by Amira Mustafa, a social worker at Temple University Hospital, came to us before from Episcopal Hospital. Christine Bloom, our AVP of Radiation Oncology at Fox Chase, and Kelly Wartnaby, registered nurse in the PACU, Temple University Hospital. So to begin, I'd like you to please welcome Amira Mustafa to the stage.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the deep breath exercise. I want to start off by thanking all of you for allowing me to share my story, and a special thank you to Allison and Kelly for asking and encouraging me to come here today. Today, I stand before you to share about my journey, a journey of recovery from substance use that has transformed my life. It's a path filled with challenges, but also profound resilience and determination. October 17th will mark my 5 years of being in recovery. Thank you. Thank you. 5 years ago, I was at the lowest point of my life. It wasn't until I woke up one day and had an epiphany that instead of drowning in pain, I could find a way to turn my pain into purpose. After several months of self-reflection and facing the brutal reality I was in, I decided to make some tough decisions in my life. I began to cut off bad friends, move schools, and begin a new journey at Temple University. I decided to switch my major to social work, which I can now say today was the best decision of my life. I began to find purpose in life and envision a career I knew I could be proud of. The drive to make a change encouraged me every day to become a better version of myself. After 2 years of consistently pushing myself, I decided to get my master's degree at Temple. During this program, I was able to connect with several amazing people who helped me get my first social work job at Temple Episcopal Hospital. From there, I was able to get my master's degree and grow my career further. I'm now at Temple University's main hospital, doing what I love every day. Although I was hesitant on sharing my story today due to the stigmas within the healthcare field, I decided to do so in hopes to encourage you all to look past the stigmas within our field. Here in Philadelphia, healthcare providers across the city are often the first point of contact for individuals struggling with addiction. Their understanding and compassion can make all the difference in a person's journey to recovery. However, healthcare professionals who face similar challenges aren't always met with the same empathy or grace. They may encounter stigmas from their own colleagues or superiors. Recently, I read an article that stated almost 10 to 15% of healthcare professionals have engaged or are currently struggling from substance use. So although we do not talk about it, people among us may be having the same struggles as the population we serve. I tell you these statistics to remind all of us that when you look at the person across from you or next to you or someone you pass in the hallway, you never know what their challenges might be. So I want to end this speech by asking those in this room today to make an impact on the healthcare field by always remaining open and supportive, to hopefully create a powerful and encouraging environment for our own. Your empathy and understanding matters to your coworkers and to your patients, and to remind you that our journey may look different, but everyone has the opportunity to find success. Thank you and have a great day.
Hey, thanks, Amira. That was awesome. Ladies, gentlemen, everyone, please welcome Christine Bloom to the stage.
Good afternoon. So my name is Christine Bloom, and I'm currently the AVP of Radiation Oncology at Fox Chase, but I started my career in 1996 as an ultrasound student at Jeans, and then a staff tech, and then a supervisor. When my kids were 7 and 3, I went back to school for my master's, and then eventually became radiology director at Jeans. So my trajectory was like this, and everything was going good, and my kids were happy, and everything was great. And then July 31st, 2015 happened. Some of us have that day that everything is, you base your life on what happened before that day, what happened after that day. So that is the day when we heard the words, your son has brain cancer and it's terminal. So he had anaplastic astrocytoma and gliomatosis cerebri. He would just turn 12 2 weeks before that. So how do you process that? You know, I'm not telling you the story for pity or sadness or anything like that. I'm just wanted to tell you because it can show how outlook and support are so essential to caring for yourself and caring for others. I was fortunate to have the support and wonderful outlook, so this is what happened. The outlook came from my immediate family, just the 4 of us. My son had a friend that had leukemia the year before. So when we told him that he had cancer, he said, well, that's okay. I'll just be off. I'll stay at home this year and I'll go back to school next year. So we let him keep that outlook because that outlook made him and all of us live day to day. And our good days and our bad days just flowed into each other. So some days we played Rummy Cube for hours and we mini golfed at Burlhome Park next to Jean's. And other days we had to lay in bed and we watched SpongeBob and Jeopardy and all his favorite stuff. The humor is the part that got us through those 16 months. He laughed at everything and then so did we. So we took our cues from him. Even in the worst of times, there's something to laugh about, and especially SpongeBob and fart jokes for a 12-year-old, you know. So the support was found in many different places. There was our family, our extended family, old friends, new cancer parent friends. We never had those friends before. They are definitely people to hang on to. And of course, our work friends. So this support allowed me and my husband to do our own self-care while caring for our other 2 children. At the time, our daughter was 16 and a senior in high school, so that was a rough time for her too. Work support was amazing, and I am forever grateful. I worked from home 3 days a week, and that wasn't a thing in 2015. Nobody worked from home then. My husband went to 312s. That was very supportive of his job to let him do that. So someone was with our son at all times. My leader at the time supported me both professionally and personally. I remember in my annual review, I said to her, "There's no goals here. Where's my goals for next year?" And she said, "Your only goal is to be with your family." And that doesn't always happen. So I felt very fortunate that I had that support from her. If you are ever at Jean's, please go around the back of the ER and next to the MRI building, there is my son's garden, because my work family from both Jean's and Fox Chase collected money and they made this absolutely beautiful garden there, and it's very, very peaceful. It's just under the shade and you have the wind chimes and a bench, and that's where I find my peace on stressful days. So 2 years after Christopher's passing, my leader encouraged me to change jobs. It was time to focus on growth and learn something new. I was very scared, but I knew I had her support and my family's, and that's how I ended up at Fox Chase. Because I wanted at that point in time to give back to cancer patients from a perspective that I had, the perspective of a caregiver, and hopefully reciprocating the compassion that I was given. Doesn't have an endpoint, and there's no cure. There's a hole in your heart forever. But I connect with that metaphor of grief as like an ocean. And when you first get in, you get knocked over by every wave. And then the longer you're in it, the more you feel the pattern of the waves, and you can have that rhythm that you can wade through them. But every once in a while, a big wave just knocks you over for no reason. So that's why it's never ending. So I hope we all have these people in our lives, personally and professionally, that are supportive and be given the opportunity to care for yourself, especially when caring for others. Like you had said, you can't fill anyone else's cup if yours is empty. My Christopher touched so many people he never even met, and I try to share what he would want us all to be, is just kind. So I hope we give and receive kindness freely. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine, for sharing your powerful story. When Christine was nominated, the person that nominated her told me that when you get Christine, you get Christopher. And he is really driving her spirit every day at work and in her role. So thank you very much. Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone, please welcome Kelly Wartnaby to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm just so touched by those 2 stories. I'd like to thank Temple Health and the Lewis Katz School of Medicine for inviting me to share my story about the importance of self-care and caring for others. My journey began in 2008 during a conversation with my parents. When they came over and they were talking to me about what would happen when they get older and they're not able to take care of themselves. Me being one of three and an only daughter, I knew that it would fall on me. So I told them, I said, of course, when it gets to that time, you are going to move in with me and I'm going to take care of you. Well, just 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from my father. He says, I put the house up for sale, and we're moving in right now. I'm like, I said, at that time, my parents were in very good health, but about like 4 years ago, I noticed a decline in my father's health, and I knew that the challenge I was facing was just the beginning. It made me recall a lesson from nursing school. You must take care of yourself in order to be able to take care of others. With that in mind, I began searching for ways to reduce my stress. At the time, I was working in the surgical trauma intensive care unit, where I took care of young trauma patients, patients that were waiting for liver transplants, and also were recovering from general surgery. While working in the SICU was incredibly rewarding, it was also highly stressful. And as my parents' health continued to decline, I realized I needed a less demanding work environment. So when a position opened up in the PACU, the post-anesthesia care unit, I knew it was the right move. I often joke, I became a PACU princess so I could better care for my parents. Initially, I worked 12 hours, but as my father became more forgetful, I knew I needed to have a more consistent routine for him and my mother. So I transitioned to 5 8-hour shifts, which allowed me to be home each day to manage their medications and ensure consistency in their care. While I worked more days, the change in the routine was more beneficial for my parents' well-being, and it was worth the sacrifice that I had to make for their well-being. In addition to managing my stress at work, I realized I needed to prioritize both my mental health and my physical wellness. I started exercising a few times a week, if possible, get monthly massages, and then I use an app for daily meditation before I go to work each day. And I turn to prayer during difficult moments. All these things were very helpful. However, no matter how many self-care practices you implement, having a support system is essential. They say it takes a village. Well, my village is made up of my coworkers, my friends, and family members. Many of them have gone through similar circumstances, or they're either they're currently caring for their parents, or they're caring for sick children, or just having other experiences in their life. So just the other day, I was talking to one of my coworkers who was in the process of trying to restrict her mother from driving after she had a minor fender bender. Well, that was a challenging task, to say the least. I was happy to be there for her because I know others are always there for me. So my small circle of friends and family, we share advice and support, and we're always there for each other. But my most important person in my support system is my husband of 34 years. He has been incredibly supportive, especially when my parents moved in. Sometimes I even think they preferred his care over mine. He listens to me when I'm exhausted and stressed, and his unwavering support makes all the difference. So with my self-care routines and the strength of my support network, I'm able to give my best care to both my parents, and then when I walk into Temple every day, I can give the best care to my patients. Once again, self-care is crucial in order to care for others. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. It's so fascinating, isn't it, that we didn't even know we had all these experts in Tend and Befriend. So if Zway is not here for us on a daily basis, you now know 3 experts that you can reach out to figure it out and to use those techniques to to help others and to create a team that really works together in a great way. So thank you so much for coming this afternoon. Before you head out to lunch, we do want to open it up and make sure if you have any questions for any of our speakers or for our keynote speaker, we'd be happy to take those questions now. They will be around, so you will see them in the reception area, but if there are any questions, we'll be pleased to take them.
No real questions. Just want to say thank you to all of you for sharing your stories, your amazing stories. Thank you for you sharing and pointing out that trauma occurs as children and there are things that we hold on to. So that kind of like helps with some of the answers as to why so many people are walking around in 1.0 because they don't even realize that they are traumatized, right? Life can be traumatic. And so I think as healthcare professionals, as you challenged us, that's our job to help people, right? To be the light in the midst of darkness. Personal story, I just want to say, October 17th, I have an amazing, my youngest child is going to be a senior in college, right? And in the midst of everything that she was doing, she had a 3.6, but she initially was smoking marijuana and had started to drink. I had to go bring her home for 3 weeks, and her grades were so good, she could do that. So October 17th will be her 1-year anniversary. No marijuana, no alcohol. So thank you for sharing that, all right?
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Okay, thank you for coming this afternoon. We have another session in the late afternoon if you can join us in a reception, but there's lunch in the lobby area. Thank you.